Every time we have a LAN in the RLCS, new records are made and old records are broken. But it's not every day that we get a world championship. We had a new viewership record, a new goal scoring record, and the first best of 7 reverse sweep on LAN. The RLCS 2023 World Championship had it all, and lucky for you, I've got all the most interesting numbers to talk about. So let's dive into the 2023 World Championship by the numbers. 47 minutes and 10 seconds. That's the total time of the longest best of 7 series ever played on LAN. Crew and NIP, South American regional brothers, duked it out in a grueling 7-game series in the group stage of the World Championship. So how exactly is this stat tabulated? Well, it simply counts the in-game time. So one game is 5 minutes long. If you play 7 games, that's 35 minutes exactly, which is what these two teams did. But you have to also account for overtimes, which, as you can see, there were 4 overtimes with a few of them going for several minutes. That all adds up to 47 minutes and 10 seconds. This broke the Season 4 World Championship record by almost 4 minutes. 6 minutes and 37 seconds. That's the longest overtime that elapsed at this World Championship between Elevate and Pioneers. By the way, get used to the series because we'll be talking about it a lot in this video. Now, this overtime was not a new record by any means, but it's good enough to tie for 3rd all-time at a World Championship. Now, it's important to this video that we make the distinction between World Championship records and any RLCS LAN record, which would include things like majors. For example, this 6 minute and 37 second overtime was the 3rd best at a World Championship. However, this overtime is only tied for 8th all-time at any RLCS LAN. I really hope that it becomes a trend that every time I make one of these videos, I mention viewership, because 468,292 was the peak concurrent viewership of the World Championship, and it's the highest an RLCS LAN has ever seen. Just to put it in perspective, let's list out the top 5 LANs by highest viewer concurrency. As we've stated, this year's 2023 World Championship sits the top for now. Number 2 is the 2022 World Championship, coming in at almost exactly 100,000 viewers less than the 2023 Worlds. 3 is the 2023 Boston Spring Major at 323,128. Number 4 is the Season 8 World Championship with 280,495. And finally, number 5 is the 2021 Fall Split Major at 280,226. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Tier 1 or Tier 2 status for Rocket League, and I'll leave it to you guys in the comments below for your expert opinions. 2,370 is the highest team score at a World Championship, and it's now held by Elevate against Pioneers. What this means is that if you were to add up the score of each player from Elevate after Game 1, it adds up to 2,370. A lot of the score can be attributed to the 19 saves that were registered from Elevate. More on those saves later. This is the highest team score we have seen at a World Championship, and it's the 9th highest we've seen at any RLCS LAN. On the topic of scores, the 2nd highest score by a single player at a World Championship was recorded. CRR versus NIP put up a 983 score in Game 4 of their series. This was a masterclass performance of 4 goals, 2 saves, 6 shots, 100% goal participation, and a whopping 2.36 player rating. Despite this, CRR's performance was 2nd best to only 1 player at a World Championship, and that player? Scrubkilla. When he played the Pittsburgh Knights at the Season 8 Worlds. Scrub is still the only player to record a 1,000 plus score at a World Championship. So remember the Elevate Pioneers game that I keep mentioning? Well, here's another record-breaking stat from that series. 24 shots in a single game is the most we've ever seen at a World Championship. The previous record was held by Dignitas versus the Three Sins back in the Season 8 World Championship. In Game 1, Pioneers took 24 shots, with Banana Head taking 10 of them alone. Somehow, only 2 goals were scored by Pioneers, but a lot of that could be credited towards the 19 saves from Elevate we spoke about earlier. This record is still only 2nd best when it comes to any RLCS LAN. The #1 spot was set back at the 2023 Spring Major in Boston during that crazy 12-minute overtime between Team Vitality and Rule 1. Vitality took 31 shots that game. Okay, I promise this is the last record from the Elevate Pioneer series, and we've kind of already hinted at it, but Elevate's 19 saves in Game 1 is a new record for a World Championship. The previous record of 15 was back in Season 8 by Renegades. This record holds up well against any RLCS LAN as the second most ever, but it's still 10 saves behind the #1 spot, and that's held by Rule 1 versus Vitality in, you guessed it, the 12-minute overtime at the 2023 Boston Spring Major. 9 is the most demos by a player at the World Championship. Interestingly enough, this record was broken by 2 players at this World Championship. Both Arsenal and Atau now have 9 demos in a single game. In fact, Arsenal got his 9 demos against Atau himself in their series during the quarterfinal. This record broke the previous by only a single demo. Scrubkilla had 8 in Season 7, and Arsenal had 2 entries with 8, both from the Season 8 Worlds. While these aren't the overall record, they come close. Arsenal and Atau now are tied for second with Mark by 8 with 9 demos. Calm still holds the record at 11 against Team Secret in the 2022 Fall Major. This is a record we spoke about in the previous Spring Major video, but 5 is once again the bar for most goals in a single game. Atomic has added himself to the limited list of players who have done this. At a World Championship, he's the 4th to accomplish this feat. At any RLCS LAN, he's now the 6th player to do this. Atomic did this against SSA's Limitless in Game 3, beating them 6-0 at the wildcard. Something to note about this specific record is the data used for these records only gives me the top 25 for each category. So in the case of most goals by a single player category, the record is 5, with every other entry in the top 25 being at 4, which just means a lot of players have had the chance to get 5 or more, but couldn't. We are sticking with the number 5 for a moment to talk about Rise. His 2nd place finish is now the 5th RLCS LAN Finals he's appeared in. For a guy whose career basically started in 2020, this is an incredible feat. Now, I know some of you in the comments are going to tell me that there are more RLCS events these days than there were from Season 8 and before, and while you're correct, I still think this is a major accomplishment. However, with 5 appearances, Rise is only 1-4 in finals. This one really isn't a new record, but a heartwarming story. The beloved player from APAC, Realize, got not 1, but 2 series wins at the World Championship, pushing his team to round 5 in the wildcard. After years of competing internationally, Realize and Elevate took down Europe's G1 4-2. Just watch this clip and you'll see why we're talking about it.
History made on Neo Tokyo. Realize has been top of this region for literal years. Look at him, look at the reaction. This is the man who's been brought to tears talking about his journey into Rocket League way back at the start of last season in the Stockholm Major. He built to this moment right here.
This was the first time Realize had beaten a team outside of Sub-Sahara Africa. The entire community went online to cheer and celebrate this massive accomplishment. And as you can see, this win meant a lot to him. Later on, Elevate would go on to beat Pioneers in round 4, adding OCE to the list of regions that Realize has taken down. 1 is a doozy of a record. 1 is the number of reverse sweeps in a best-of-7 we saw at the World Championship. During the wildcard, Falcons reverse swept Twisted Minds in round 3 of Swiss. But this reverse sweep is special, and here's why. There have been 14 reverse sweeps on LAN. There have been 5 reverse sweeps at a World Championship. But this is the only best-of-7 reverse sweep. All the reverse sweeps mentioned were best-of-5s. This was the first of its kind, and in a way, it's crazy that we haven't seen one yet. There have been some close calls before, with some of the more notable and recent ones coming during the Spring Major of 2022, but it never was completed. Falcons only scored 1 goal in the first 3 games, but turned things around in Game 4 and outscored Twisted Minds 12-4 in the next 4 games. An incredible feat and a first of its kind in RLCS, and maybe a record we might not see again for a long time. Thanks for watching. Hey, by the way, if you want to support these videos in the channel, I've started a Patreon. It's only $5 a month, and you'll get access to sneak peeks and behind-the-scenes stuff on the creation of these videos. Check it out in the description below.